Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Cub Chat Live Day. This is not a dream. We really have Lisa Wiley back on the show today. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Gina. Hi, everyone.
We've got the most important topic of the spring, I would say. And we've also got Pack 3092 watching, 3092. Don't know why I read it that way. Pack 84. Thank you guys for tuning in. Lisa, we're talking about spring recruitment today, right?
We are. You know, we spend a lot of time thinking and talking about fall recruiting, but really we can do some really good things if we think about the spring also.
Right. And Paige is tracking you with you. She says, we're hoping for some major spring recruitment. Paige, today's episode is all for you. Aaron is out there saying, not fair that Gina gets to host today instead of me. Sorry, Aaron.
I'm feeling very loved.
Well, the audience is super excited to see you again. Rob says spring recruiting was always a big success for my pack back when I was a Cub Master. So Lisa, who would recruit in the spring? Why would a pack recruit in the spring?
Well, okay, so I will say full disclosure, when my kids were in a Cub Scout pack, we didn't do any spring recruiting. And I was we don't need to do that because we were tired. We were ready to move into the lull of the summertime. But as I've listened to other people and looked at our data and done some research, because we should be making our decisions based off of data and research and not our personal opinions, I've kind of fallen into, you know what, spring recruiting actually could be a really good thing. And so what I would do is, before you even got started, is think about what that looks like for your pack. How, is your pack busy? Can it handle it? And what I like to think about is, what good is this going to do me for the fall? Right? Because the fall, we start right after school gets started and it's pretty hectic. So what can I be doing right now to get me ready for the fall? And that's why I think that spring recruiting is so important.
Yeah, I think a lot of times our leaders get to the fall and wish they had done some spring recruiting. And at that point, you can't go back in time.
No, we can't.
I have been finding myself saying question of the day on Fridays, and I think that it's early yet in the show, but this is such a good question that came from Pack 307. They say, is spring recruitment too late? Does it leave much time to earn rank? What can you say there, Lisa?
Well, okay, so our program is always about do your best, and so there you go. But I also don't look at spring recruiting from the viewpoint of advancement. So I look at spring recruiting as getting those kids onboarded and ready to really get started in the fall when my program kicks off. So while that's a great question, that's not something that I focus on. And me specifically, I would always focus on spring recruiting for to be tigers. That's what I spent my time on. So I would go to the kindergarten classrooms somehow and figure out, and start a tiger den that would be registered on June 1st, if that makes sense. So while I love that question, that's not what I focused on. I didn't focus on advancement, because you have to remember, advancement is a delivery model, right? It's how we help the kids do the actual program. And it's a way for us to help our den leaders, who are typically parent volunteers, actually deliver the program. So, and it's, kids do better when they have rewards for what they just did. It helps them understand their behaviors and kind of, dig into those behaviors. So,
and I've heard a lot of leaders say, the right time to recruit is all year round. But just thinking of, if there is certainly if you have interested scouts who want to join, telling them to wait till fall, they might get involved in something else. They might join another pack that wants them right away. It's just never going to hurt you to just get them involved a little bit earlier.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying is, why not? And we should be recruiting all the time. We should never say, oh, well, we're in the middle of our advancement trail and we're in the middle of this particular adventure, so we don't want the kids to join. Look, they don't know. People who've never been involved in our program have zero concept of how we deliver the program through the advancement model. They have no idea about that. So for them, it's not important. They just want an opportunity to join and have some fun.
That's such a good point. The vast 99.99999% of new families are not thinking like, well, I want to make sure she gets, X rank by the end of the year. I feel like they just want a taste of the program. They want an activity for their kids. Rob says that they always had a full den of new tigers June 1st from spring recruiting. One year they had 2 dens of new tigers. And he says that if they join in the spring, we've heard this too. If they join in the spring, they go right to summer camp and all the fun summer events rather than den meetings. Honestly, that's a challenge sometimes in the fall. You want to get them out right away. And in some parts of the country, it's too cold or there's just a lot of school events, whatever. You've got a golden gift if you have summer. Kids get hooked in the summer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's very laid back in the summer. We know from asking our families that most packs kind of go on a semi hiatus in the summertime, which is a great time for people to learn about our program in a very kind of a slow way. So if you go to summer camp, I love that. Summer day camp, they're like totally hooked. But you could do things with just your den, especially with the tigers, right? Just get them together for a barbecue or a picnic at somebody's house, or go swimming, or go bicycling, or take a walk in the woods or along a trail, just to get those kids together a few times. And it doesn't have to be all about advancement. It's just getting together, getting them to know one another, seeing how they work together, get the parents to know each other, because then, oh, wait, we're jumping ahead a little bit, then you know who your den leader might be.
I was going to say that. Yeah, we haven't even gotten into the good stuff yet, guys. We're just talking about some of your comments, and we have more to get to. But before we get into the meat of it, I have one more question. There is kind of one distinction here. Can you recruit lions in the spring?
No, you cannot. Lion is a kindergarten. It's for our kindergarten children, and it doesn't start until the fall. So while you may keep a list, right, as a good pack membership chair would do, keep a list of those kids, they cannot be doing anything over the summertime, and they can't do anything in the spring. We have to wait until the fall.
So then, to amend what I said earlier, the one time you might say just wait till the fall would be when you're talking to someone who's going to be coming in as a lion in the fall.
Right. And let them know, oh, I got your name, I got you, I'm gonna get back to you. Don't assume that they're gonna get the flyer or the social media posting. They need a phone call in the fall and say, hey, now we're ready, let's go.
And to clarify for any new families out there, lions are our youngest scouts. So we just can't go younger than that. We can't bring a 3-year-old into the program. So we're waiting for those kindergarten kids in the fall. Okay. Now, when we're talking about spring recruitment, there's kind of 3 phases. You've nicely broken it up into for us. There's the before, the during, and the after. So can we go through what to do before we get into the recruiting portion of recruiting?
Sure. So when you think about spring recruiting, the first thing you need to do is, am I going to do something that's formal? A lot of times we think about formal recruiting in the fall where we have a join night and we have an activity. So are you going to do that again in the spring? Are you going to be visiting the classrooms? Are you going to be putting out posters? Are you going to do flyers? Or are you going to do something that's a little more passive? Right? Maybe you're just focused on tigers and you go to the individual kindergarten classrooms, or you just send home a flyer with those individual kindergarten kids. You got to decide, am I going to do something big and bold, or am I going to be more passive? And your passive could even be, ooh, we already have some kids, some siblings in our pack, and there's 1 or 2 to be first graders, and so we're going to get those kids started, and maybe they can bring some friends along, because that's really important, is to bring your friends along so that you have somebody, you have a buddy, a maiden buddy. Some things you need to be thinking about in the spring for spring recruiting. It's a great time if you don't know your school principal or your school secretary. It's a great time to reach out to them and say, hey, we're around. What can we do for you? Right? We're not talking about, oh, I want access to something. It's what can we do for you? Like over the summertime, a lot of school grounds, there's no custodial staff there to take care of the grounds. So maybe your unit wants to be doing something like that. So those are some things you need to be thinking about for spring recruiting before you even get started. What's your goal? What do you need to meet that goal? And then how are you going to support getting to your goal?
Yeah. So it's all about the preparation. Alex has a comment that kind of goes into what you were just saying. She says public schools here don't allow us to advertise in the schools. So one thing that I always love that Lisa says is find a way to, kind of do a favor for the school, do service for the school if they would allow you. Maybe they would allow that if they won't let you into schools yet. You just build that relationship. But most of the preschools are private, so their plans to get info out to the preschool families before the start of summer break, invite them to join us for family activities in the summer, thinking about joining in the fall. So you're probably talking about those lion age kids. That's a great way to prep for bringing them in the fall.
Yes, it absolutely is, because you're building a relationship, right? You're just letting them know a little bit about the program. You're not formally inviting them to anything. You're just casually having a picnic or a barbecue where some people who are going to be joining your elementary school community are going to be invited, right?
Exactly. And then we also talk a little bit about the passive recruitment. Now, there's a really good Aaron on Scouting blog about passive recruitment that I encourage anybody to just take a look if you're looking at some ideas. But something that has just stuck with me ever since probably a few months ago on Cub Chat Live, the idea of always just have, if your pack is doing something, put a sign out. Just let them know who's there and what you're doing and some contact info.
Right. Especially if you're doing what they talked about, having just, a casual get together or get togethers during the summertime in a park or something. So put out a sign out in front of the park, even if you have it in your own home. If you have a great big backyard and you just casually invite everybody to your backyard. Well, some of these people have never met you before. So what's stopping you from having a sign in your front yard, right?
Absolutely. We see it for all kinds of other activities and things, and maybe less than we used to, which is probably a good thing. It's a little less competition when you're walking down the street and when somebody's walking down the street and sees some signs. Make sure you can read it, though, from a distance. That's also important.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about how to prep before spring recruitment. What about during recruitment? Which honestly, I mean, it's March. We're about to hit actual spring. What does the actual recruitment period look like?
So when you've decided, let's say you've decided to focus on building a tiger den, right? And so you've gone into your kindergarten classrooms, whatever that looks like, right? If you can flyer them, or if you can't get in, you've built a relationship you're trying to build a relationship with the school, put some signage out, however you've decided to do that. Make sure that those people who are signing up during your spring recruiting get a summer calendar plus a calendar for your next year. So your pack right now should be sitting down and creating a calendar for the next program year. And that would include your pack meetings, any pack events that you have, maybe if your council does any Cub Scout daytime or camping activities, all of that should be on a calendar, and you should be able to give that calendar to these people that you've actually been recruiting. I actually call it a packet of fun. So it's the next program year calendar. It's your calendar of events over the summertime. And you could just be doing something like once a month. It doesn't have to be, big and super engaged, but just let these people know, touching base with them. You should include in that packet of fun, like contact information. Like if you're the membership chair and they're supposed to contact you, then you need to make sure that they have that information. Maybe you also want to share all the other people that are joining during that spring recruiting, like if you're forming a den, make sure that everybody has everybody else's information, because for all you know, they want to get together in onesies and twosies and kind of on their own. And then I would also include some educational resources. We've got this Audrey Oakes, who's currently the chair of the National Cub Scouting Committee. She put together this one pager. I see that on the bottom. And it's got a QR code for all of our resources. It includes Cub Chat Live. It includes, what else does it include? PAC meeting resources, our basics about what the program is about. But it's got a lot of great information out there that's easy to find. It's that one-stop shopping, and I would include that in there too. Because we should not assume that these people know about Cub Scouts. Right? Most people know nothing about our program when we have all this internal jargon and nomenclature, and we should not assume that everybody else knows what a blue uniform looks like, right? So
no, that's such a good point, and good job, Audrey, for putting that together. It's a really helpful little sheet. I love that it gives a shout out to Cub Chat Live. And I also think, new families don't understand the structure of the BSA. They don't understand what's your resource, what national is, what the council is. They just don't get any of that. So just kind of distilling it down for them, giving them the information that they need that isn't way over their head and jargony, I think that can be really helpful.
Well, and they don't care, and they don't need to know what the council is. All they want to know, especially for Cub Scouts, all they want to know is who are the families involved in the program. That's huge for them, right? It's huge for us when we go and join an elementary school in our community. We want to know who the other families are. So it's really important during that recruiting that they see these new families, see the families that are they're going to be joining with.
Absolutely. And we have so many great comments I can't wait to get to. But before we do that, we have talked a little bit about lions. We've talked a lot about tigers. What about other ranks?
There's nothing wrong with adding to an existing den, which is actually the easiest thing to do, is just put them in the den that they're going to be going in. So remember that our program year actually starts around June 1st. It's, up to the individual councils when they press the go button, but it's that June 1st. So for a child who's currently right now in March, is in first grade, in the summertime, they are a rising second grader. So they would be in a wolf den. So during your spring recruiting, any first graders that you actually, recruit or decide that they want to join, they should be put in a den who is going to be a wolf den starting that first part of June. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. Right? So you always are looking forward. And that's another reason why we don't start lions until the fall, because they don't actually enter kindergarten until that fall. So
I think that makes perfect sense. If you guys have any questions as we're going here, be sure to drop them in the comments. We've got a wonderful resource here in Lisa who can answer your questions. Nicole says, back to an earlier topic, she says, I think if you recruit in the spring after crossover and don't stress about hitting the current rank, the new Cub Scouts can just have fun doing a few electives, camp, enjoy getting to know what scouting is before you go into the fall with requirements. They can get their Bobcat done and you can present it. So that kind of gives that feeling of getting a rank patch right away. I think you say it really, really well, Nicole.
Right. I love what Nicole said, right? If you wait until whenever your crossover is and then have them actually join at that particular time. And I love what she said about focusing on fun during the summertime. I'm a huge advocate of that, right? Because if you take advancement and adventures off the table and just focus on the fun, then in the fall, everybody starts at the same time. And then we don't have this issue of, oh, you earned these, adventures over the summer. And it's just because the whole program really is about fun with a purpose. And again, we do the adventures, we do the advancement trail just as a delivery model. If there was a different way to do it that we thought was working better, we would do that, right? But this is what we have right now.
Yes, and I kind of think, personally, Personally, this is my hot take. I think that recruiting in the spring could be a lot more fun and a lot easier. There's less competition. You're not super stressed about recruitment. It's kind of all just a little bit of a bonus. And
Mhm.
just the way, with weather and the way that our activities are laid out, so much fun stuff happens in the spring in Cub Scouting. And then the funnest stuff, I would argue, happens in the summer. So
Oh,
I think it's a perfect time.
right? Summer day camp. Hello.
Yes. And Rob, it's like he's reading your mind. He says, in the summer, you don't need dens. As a result, you don't need den leaders. You have all summer to get to know the families. And then in the fall, when you do need to form dens, you know who will become the den leader. That's exactly what you said.
Yes. Oh, I love Rob.
He totally gets
Exactly.
it.
Because it's a very passive way to decide who's going to be approached for the den leader. And it so that you can actually and then you can, the parent might see also during that time that it really doesn't take that much to be a den leader. We have lots of great resources, the den leader experience, we've got handbooks, we've got online resources and printed resources. You've got people who have already been through the program, they're there to help. And it's just somebody just needs to kind of organize it, because especially with the adventure program, you can just assign people an adventure, each family, because then the kid gets to own it. I mean, how much fun is that? So I know we're digressing from spring recruiting, but
Well, we're going to get a little bit, we're going to wrap up the show by talking about what you can do after recruiting. But before we do that, there's two more really great comments, kind of recruitment ideas that I think we should share. So Pack 307 says they're going to try peer-to-peer cards. Pack 307, tell us what those look like for you guys. How does it work? What are you going to put on there? I'm just curious. And then Wendy, I don't know, she blew my mind. You probably already thought about something like this, Lisa, but she said, they've been able to post their activities to invite those interested to join us on Facebook in our local school district parent groups on Facebook that aren't run by the school, and their neighborhood groups in their area. All of it's genius. Okay, I'm thinking
oh
the
yeah,
neighborhood group. But what I've never thought about is how there are all these city mom groups on Facebook. And it's full of strangers, or it's full of, people in your community. I feel like I'm just thinking of one right now. If I posted the one for my city right now and said, I'm starting a Cub Scout den looking for this age, I think it would fill up just that fast.
oh, I absolutely think so too. And I think that that's genius. I've never thought of that. I mean, my kids were in Cub Scouts way before we had social media. So I love that people are thinking, using the resources that we have now and the methods of communication that we have now. I love that.
The comments are continuing to roll in. I encourage everybody watching to keep reading the comments. If we can get to a few more at the end of the show, we definitely will. But before we do that, what are our after actions after we've gotten some new scouts, we've gotten some new names? What do we do next?
Now, you need to make sure that if you're the membership chair, or the new member coordinator, or whoever is coordinating this spring recruiting, you need to make sure that you follow up with each and every person a couple of times during the summer. At least one of these I would recommend would be a phone call. Pick up the phone, call them, see how they're doing, see if they have any questions, comments, or concerns. It's really important to maintain that contact. Again, because we're spending so much time in the summertime, kind of a lull, we spend more time on those pack activities. They might not know who to personally contact. So you need to reach out to them and not wait for them to reach out to you. Make sure that you collect the paperwork, follow up, get the paperwork if they haven't done registration online, if you're still doing the paper way, or that if you follow up with their online, that the council has hit all the appropriate buttons and the chartering organization has done everything. And then make sure in that little bit of time between spring recruiting, finalizing, and starting your summertime program, make sure that you set the expectations for them, right? That there'll be monthly activities or maybe biweekly activities, and that you will be beginning in the fall meeting in earnest. That you'll have a couple of pack meeting once a month, and that you'll have a couple of den meetings. Again, if they have that calendar, they should be able to see that, but don't assume that just because you gave them the calendar that they understand all of that. And then after the summer, like Rob mentioned, you as the membership coordinator, whatever that looks like, can identify the den leader for those new dens and work from there and get that person say, hey, I noticed would you be able to coordinate with everything? I see that you have a good relationship with everybody, and kind of have a conversation with them about being a den leader.
These are the benefits of spring recruiting that you just don't get in the fall. And the other thing is, it benefits the parents and youth, I would think, to just have that time where they're just learning about scouting and they're not feeling like I gotta get going and getting ranks.
Right,
They're just learning,
right.
and it's a nice
slow
onboarding
roll.
time.
It's a slow roll. And especially if you can start a tiger den of 3 or 4 kids in the spring. Think about this. Now you've identified your den leader. You're ready to go to add to it in the fall. So all those new parents coming in, that because that's traditionally when most people join, is in the fall, because that's when they hear about us the most. And then you have a tiger den that's already started, makes it so much easier. And this is why I said at the top of the program, we didn't do spring recruiting. I was always asked to do it. I was like, no, we're tired. But now I look back on it, I'm like, gosh, if I would have just spent a little bit of time on this, it would have been helpful to everybody in the fall. So I'm a huge advocate for it these days.
Well, we're all benefiting from your experience. So now we know, okay, recruit in the spring. It can make things a little bit easier. PAC 307 has followed up. I asked what was on their peer-to-peer recruitment cards. They're using the cards that are on the BSA Brand Center. The way that I would find them is literally to Google BSA Brand Center. It'll be the first thing that comes up, and you can find all kinds of really cool recruitment tools on there, all different kinds of shapes and sizes. As we know, like if you are a longtime leader and recruiter, all these different size printouts make a big difference. So all that stuff's on there. Daniel, okay, I'm going to see if behind the scenes Brian can pull a fast one for us. He's saying many PACs struggle with putting on a summertime program. Daniel, we have got some great past Cub Chat Lives about putting on wonderful summertime programs. We have a link we will put up at the bottom of the screen that shows you where you can watch past episodes of Cub Chat Live, and we have more than one episode on that. There's so many good ideas.
And I just want to say, your summertime program doesn't even need to be super formal. I know that there's a number of councils that no longer have a summer day camp, right? For one reason or another, they're not able to support that type of activity. But it doesn't have to be something huge and big. It could be super informal. I know you guys have talked about it in a Cub Chat Live, but I just want to be super clear about that. It could be a gathering in the park with some games. I mean, it can be as simple as that, because a lot of it during the summertime, it's just touching base with one another, right? It doesn't have to be super fancy or formal. It's just parents getting together, the kids getting together, and having some fun.
You even named some earlier in the episode, like pool parties, pizza parties. You could just go to an ice cream place. I mean, it takes no planning. Just tell everyone to meet there. Drive-in movies, or moving in a backyard or at a park. Of course, follow all of our safety guidelines and get the needed permissions. But it can be super casual, like you said.
Right. And it's the whole family, right? It's the whole family, even if they have siblings, their older siblings or their younger siblings.
Alex has some good spring recruiting opportunity ideas. Easter egg hunts. That's a great one.
I love
you get a lot of tag along sibling kind of thing, or bring a friend event, because everyone's interested in Easter egg hunts. Their PAC offered to help the city stuff eggs and gave them the opportunity to ask if we could give them Cub Scout Easter eggs. They excitedly said, yes, the Easter egg hunt is broken up into age groups, so we're distributing 200 eggs in the age group of the 5 to 6 lot. Oh gosh, this is getting better and better. Allowing us to target specifically the dens that we need to grow, their lions. Our council's providing stickers and mini mags for us to hand out, so it's a great collaboration with the council, our city, and it's cut off the comment, but I can just tell I would give that comment the A+ of the day.
Oh, absolutely. So creative, right? Just leaning into an event that already exists. And they went and asked, right? Would you mind,
all these big Easter egg hunts organized. Can you imagine if a group said, listen, we will take over doing all of the eggs. We'll put all the candy in there, or whatever the prizes are. All we want to know is if in 1 out of every 10 eggs, we can put our contact information for our
right?
unit
Because
per
they're
day.
offering to help. That's always the thing is these organizations that put on things like Easter egg hunts or pool parties during the summertime, whatever your city or your town looks like, they're always looking for help for somebody to take up, part of the prep work. And so then if you slip in a little Cub Scouts, they're like, well, that's okay because you're doing the lion's share of the work. So I love that.
Yeah, that's the kind of creative ideas. I just hope everyone is reading in the comments. Keep commenting with your big, wonderful ideas like that so others can learn from you. I'm seeing more running here right now. This was a really great episode, Lisa, but we don't expect anything less when you're on with us.
You're always good for my ego, Gina. Thank you very much.
Have we missed anything? Anything else you want to add before we let you go?
You know what? Just the only thing I would say is if you've never done spring recruiting before and you're a little bit hesitant, have a conversation with your PAC committee. It's really important that everybody be on board and then choose whether you want to do a big focused spring recruiting or if you just want to do something passive. If you want to add to all of your dens or if you want to just focus on building that tiger den. And I love the idea that maybe you just want to wait until after your crossover because then it's a little bit less confusing for the people in your pack. And remember, the people that you're recruiting probably know nothing about your program, so they aren't all hung up on advancement. Just go and have a great time during the summer, and then you'll be ready for the fall.
Oh, it sounds so good. Everybody watching, read the comments. Again, just one reminder, Daniel is dropping some other great ideas focused around, recruiting from sports teams, which that's the perfect place if you're thinking about kids and parents who want to be involved in an activity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially if you're sitting on the bench in Little League watching a baseball or a softball game, you can become the Cub Scout parent. I mean, seriously, that's how we got a lot of kids to join is we talked about it. It was just a natural thing to talk about as part of the conversation. And people then they knew who to contact to get involved.
And the parents become friends, and those seasons really aren't very long, especially with a couple school holidays. So it's kind of a way for the families to continue to be in touch. They move on to a different activity together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we could say so much more, but we'll just let the audience keep with the comments. You guys are rocking it. Lisa, thank you again for joining us today. I hope we get to see you soon.
All right, my pleasure. Good to see you, Gina. Good to see everyone. Bye-bye.